Hey, what's going on guys, Chris here with another in-depth gun comparison video, pitting a couple of the game's assault weapons against each other to see which is the best in certain situations. The two I've picked for this guide both have a few similar properties with each other, like rate of fire for instance, but there's a lot of other small things to improve their effectiveness over the other weapon in less obvious ways. The first of the two guns is the German MP18, arguably the first submachine gun ever to be used in combat, along with the Ribeyrolles 1918, arguably the first automatic assault rifle type weapon to ever be created, with it firing an intermediate cartridge. Both of these guns sacrifice blazing kill times and rapid fire rates in favour of other things, to make them more well-rounded and versatile weapons for attacking the enemy head-on. But which is the best weapon for you? And how is one going to benefit you more than the other within those offensive ranges closer to the action? Let's take a look. So the MP18 and Ribeyrolles might share the same rate of fire, with them both shooting at the speed of 550 RPM, one of the lowest fire rates of the assault's automatic weapons, I should probably add, but there's a few things that separate the two in terms of lethality, with the most important difference being those longer range damage values. Both the MP18 and Ribeyrolles deals a very similar amount of damage within closer quarters, with them having the same maximum damage of 28 up to 11 meters, meaning they're both going to kill with 4 bullets up to 13 meters. And as damage drops down over distance, this is going to translate over to more bullets to kill, as you'd naturally expect, with those shots becoming weaker as they travel through the air. But once your round flies past the 11 meter mark, this is the point where damage starts to drop, and the Ribeyrolles' damage drops down at a more gradual rate than the MP18's, meaning it can hold on to a 5 bullet kill over a longer distance up to 28 meters, instead of dropping to a 6 bullet kill at 23 meters like the MP18 does. Not only are those intermediate rounds fired by the Ribeyrolles capable of sustaining higher amounts of damage the further they travel, but the Ribeyrolles also happens to have a higher minimum damage figure of 17.5 beyond 37 meters, which is actually a pretty high value for an assault weapon to deal over longer distances, though the MP18's damage drops down to as low as 15 at the same range. This heavily reflects on those kill times and allows the Ribeyrolles to kill in 6 bullets max, whereas the MP18's lower range damage equates to an extra 7th shot to kill, making the Ribeyrolles a much more effective weapon for bringing down players further away over those medium distances. This extra range damage not only makes the Ribeyrolles a stronger choice for taking down players with less bullets, but it also allows you to kill weakened players more easily and consistently too, when you can get those shots to connect with your target. And those higher damage values actually lets the Ribeyrolles kill quicker than the likes of the Hellriegel further away, despite it firing 100 RPM slower. Though both the MP18 and Ribeyrolles are going to be just about as dangerous as each other as you're running around taking objectives in CQC, as if you're strictly using the weapons within closer proximities, then there isn't really going to be any noticeable difference when you're looking at how deadly the guns are going to be here. But with the Ribeyrolles shots punching through enemies harder further away, this gives it a distinct advantage for lethality, making it a more powerful option in comparison, and making it the winner in this category. Another pretty big difference between the MP18 and Ribeyrolles is the way they kick around, as they've not only got different recoil patterns and spread values, but they're also going to react in different ways depending on whether you tap the trigger or hold it down instead. The MP18 generally has the lowest recoil and spread figures, bouncing upwards with a vertical recoil value of 0.42, and horizontally with left and right values of 0.23, 0.14 if you're using the experimental variant. So this makes it a much more accurate and controllable weapon than the Ribeyrolles 1918, which has more vertical and horizontal recoil, 70% more upwards kick with a value of 0.5, and a more erratic horizontal kick with a value of 0.33, 30% less accuracy than the MP18's trench and optical variants. This paints a pretty clear picture for us to see that the Ribeyrolles is basically going to kick around more violently as you squeeze that trigger, and it's also going to be a bit more accustomed to missing shots if you're shooting whilst on the move, due to it having some slightly higher spread stats when you're strafing around whilst firing. Another thing that gives the MP18 more effectiveness when it comes to precision is the fact that it's got less spread when you hip firing too, 56% less spread if you're using that trench variant. But all the MP18 models generally have lower spread values when you're shooting from the hip, so this might improve its run and gun capabilities within those closer quarters, up on the front lines and within buildings and trenches, as you'll have more precision without having to aim down the weapon's sights, which might allow you to land more shots on target in CQC, and perhaps even speed up those kill times by doing so. Though the Ribeyrolles isn't out of the fight yet, because it's actually got a few stats to help you tame that jumpy recoil and even complement its longer ranged effectiveness in the process. The biggest thing you should probably know is that the Ribeyrolles actually has a lower first shot recoil multiplier over both of its variants, and so this means that you can gain a lot of that accuracy back simply by tapping and burst firing instead of shooting in longer durations. This is going to help you land those shots far out on enemies in the distance, which is complemented by the weapon's higher muzzle velocity of 520 meters per second. And if you're using the factory variant of the Ribeyrolles, you'll be able to recover from recoil twice as fast when you stop shooting, something that's going to go hand in hand with that lower first shot recoil figure, helping to make it perform even better still when you're tapping the trigger. But of course, let's not forget about the fact that the Ribeyrolles has indeed got a bipod attached to its underside, massively boosting the gun's precision when it's being used. This not only grants it with higher levels of accuracy and stability than the MP18, but it also allows it to be used very effectively in defensive positions whilst guarding objectives from oncoming enemies. So in a way, although the MP18 generally has the superior accuracy, often allowing it to perform better when you're running and gunning, the Ribeyrolles also has quite a lot of less obvious factors to help improve that precision too, providing you remember to take advantage of them. Now, with the MP18 and Ribeyrolles both being assault weapons, they're designed to be used fairly aggressively, mainly by players pushing forwards to capture objectives, attacking their enemies within closer ranges. And although they might not be as effective at killing as a fair few of the other faster firing guns, because they shoot a little bit slower at 550 RPM, this can often make them seem a tad easier to manage, dispensing ammo at a slower pace. The MP18 holds the most bullets out of the two at 32 rounds, 30 rounds if you're using the experimental variant, which is still more than the Ribeyrolles' 25 round capacity. And despite the MP18 holding more ammo, they're both going to reload at the same rate if you got bullets left over in your magazine, with tactical reloads for both weapons taking exactly 2.1 seconds, which is actually pretty quick. Though there's a bit of a difference when it comes to full reloads, as this is where the Ribeyrolles has a slight advantage over the MP18, with it taking about 2.77 seconds to exchange that empty magazine, as opposed to the MP18's full reload, which is going to take a tiny bit longer, almost 3 seconds if you're using the trench and optical variants, and a tad more if you're using the experimental, taking 3.3 seconds. These differences in times are hardly noticeable when you're playing, so in most cases the MP18 is going to seem like the more reliable option, with it having a larger mag size along with some fairly snappy reloads. Because you've got more bullets in your magazines, you're less likely to run out of shots and more likely to perform those quicker tactical reloads instead while you play. Despite the Ribeyrolles dealing more damage over range and therefore being able to kill in less bullets, because it holds less ammunition, this means that it's still only capable of taking down the same number of enemies over distance as the MP18, with both guns only being able to kill up to 4 players with full health before they'll need to be reloaded. This figure changes however in CQC, with the MP18 technically being able to take down up to 7 or even 8 people up close with a full magazine, unlike the Ribeyrolles, which is only capable of killing about 5 or 6 players. So this is another thing that generally makes the MP18 a more dependable weapon overall, and you're probably going to find yourself in a few less awkward situations whilst using it in comparison to the Ribeyrolles. So the big question, which gun should you choose? Although they both function in a fairly similar way, especially in the sense that they both fire at the same rate, there's definitely quite a lot of different factors to take into account when choosing between the MP18 and the Ribeyrolles 1918, with both guns catering for slightly different playstyles and being better than each other in certain scenarios. The MP18 might prove to be a more suitable weapon for a lot of players, down to it performing well within closer proximities and quite often seeming easier to handle, being a bit more of a well-rounded assault SMG that's going to be a more accurate weapon in fully automatic fire, along with it being able to generally deal with ammunition a tad better too, as its snippy reloads and larger mag size will allow you to take on more enemies one after the other in heated situations, close to all the action. And in combination with its higher precision and better hipfire, it's often going to seem like a more suitable choice for running and gunning. These factors might also make the MP18 a slightly better weapon for flanking enemy positions too, as having a higher bullet count will allow you to keep those shots flowing for longer, possibly letting you take on an entire squad of enemies pretty easily if they've all got their backs turned. Whereas the Ribeyrolles on the other hand might have run out of ammo a bit earlier before you got the chance to take all those enemies down. The Ribeyrolles doesn't handle with its ammunition quite as well as the MP18, but it's still not exactly an unreliable weapon, because its reloads are still on the quick side. So this is still going to allow you to survive against multiple enemies fine enough within close quarters too, just maybe not quite as well as if you were using the MP18. However, the Ribeyrolles does have quite a lot of interesting stats and hidden qualities that are going to be less obvious to the average player, as although it does kick around all over the place when you hold down the trigger, and it might not be able to keep you engaged in the action for as long with having those smaller magazines. There's a lot of things here that are going to boost the Ribeyrolles' effectiveness over range, often making it the better weapon of the two guns for taking on players beyond close quarters, out to those medium and even long ranges. The fact that the Ribeyrolles deals more damage over distance and kills in less bullets gives it faster kill times than the MP18, meaning that it's going to win more gunfights. And despite having a heavier recoil pattern, the gun's kick can be controlled more easily by tapping the trigger and taking advantage of its lower first shot recoil multiplier value, rather than firing in full auto, which should just be reserved for CQC only. The gun's higher muzzle velocity is also going to make it seem easier to use against targets further away too. And if that's not enough, you could always plant down and whip out that bipod to gain even more accuracy and increase the weapon's ranged effectiveness even more. The MP18 might generally be the better weapon for doing what the assault class was made to do, rushing objectives and making short work of enemies closer to the fight within those danger zones, though the Ribeyrolles definitely shouldn't be underestimated, as it might not seem like a particularly easy gun to use on the face of it, but it can often be a more effective weapon to use against enemies outside of those offensive ranges, and it can even perform well in defensive positions too, giving the weapon quite a lot of versatility as you play. So that's pretty much it for another one, folks. Hope you enjoyed the guide. If you did, you know what to do, and make sure you subscribe to see all that new content coming out in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in that next episode.